Welcome, Brandon, to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, brother, and thank you for having me on.
I'm glad you could make it. So, you have been in a lot of different bands, and I don't think there's enough exposure on you about that because you've been, like as we were saying earlier, in a bunch of bands, but you're like a musician's musician. So, we're gonna dig in and peel back the the layers today. I always like to start at the beginning,
Okay.
but for new people. Um, when you first start playing, so you play guitar. What else do you play? And you sing, obviously. You have a really great voice.
Oh my God, thank you. Well, I play guitar, very little piano. I play bass. I can. I do all the harmonies on all the tracks. Sing, right?
Okay.
That's pretty much it. I can kind of get around the drums. I wouldn't say I'm really good, but I can get her. I can
Well,
get it. I like when I go to the studio. I'll tell my producer that like this is.
right. You get your point across.
Yeah, but I'm not so great. I'll embarrass myself. I do it when no
Yeah,
one's.
no, you're a good enough
Yeah,
singer and a good a guitar player. You jam on those two. That's all you need.
yeah.
You got two things you're awesome at. That I'd kill to be good at one of them. Um, so that being said, did you grow up in a household of music, or was it just something you picked up on your own?
No, it
Besides
was a
growing up.
house full of it was a house full of music. My mom and dad, they played in bands and mainly like country bands and just weekend warrior kind of stuff. And uh, we had to go to church on Sundays, and there was a lot of music there. And
Yep.
my uncle was a big influence of mine. He was in a traveling cover band that played 5 nights a week, and so I was definitely surrounded by music,
Wow. Yeah.
and which was nice because you can call pretty much anybody up that we were around and
Mhm.
ask questions, and they never looked at us like, oh, that little punk is wasting my time, because you're asking a decent question, an educational question or whatever. So yeah, it was completely a house full of music. My brother's a drummer, a songwriter. My sister's a wonderful singer. She tours with me from time to time. Yeah, that's what we do when we get together for holidays. We bring out the acoustic guitar and
So
try
much
and
better
get.
than fighting. It's so much better than fighting at most of them. What do you
Oh,
think?
we do that. We do that. We can come to.
Covered
Uh,
at least. I mean, music brings it back, though. I mean, I think that's great. And I think what's really cool
it's
is
always all in good fun, but man, we give each other a hard time.
I can imagine like when you're like, Mom, Dad, I'm gonna do rock and roll, and I'm not gonna do that. I want to move on. They weren't like, whoa, you need to become a dentist, or you know, they kind of get it. I think I would assume, right?
Yes.
Am I jumping ahead of the story? And I assume that they were pretty acceptive when the time came.
Well, it's a great point, and a lot of people don't know this. My parents were extremely supportive. My grandma and grandpa, extremely supportive.
That's awesome.
A lot of kids don't have that because it's such an unknown. The path of being a musician and getting on a level where you it's monetary, and or you can monetize it, and so yeah, that's I had all of that. I had all the support in the world, and in the lowest times I was still supported, and it was never you're throwing your life away. It was never any of that. We had guitars, we had drums, we had pianos in the basement at all times. Our Christmases were all musical instruments, any interest, musical books, DVDs. You know, again, I remember several Christmases where I was surprised with a new guitar, and my brother surprised with a new set of drums. Or there was 110. I can honestly say there was 110% support from my family into what we were doing, and what I'm doing still today.
I mean, the side note here: the fact that your parents bought drums for a child that lives in their house, like makes them almost superheroes. Because basically you're a 6-year-old. You're gonna be like drums. You're gonna get back. You're like, oh my god. Like I
Yeah.
have bass guitars. I have a wall. If I turn it, it's just all bass acoustic guitars and I have amps and everything. I bought my kid a PA for her Christmas, and then bought her guitar, and then for her 16th birthday she wanted a bass amp because she was playing out.
Okay.
But the drums, I'm like, oh. Find a drummer in a
Uh,
garage. I bought you a PA system because that's really what you want when you're in a
we
band. I bought you a PA, but drums
we
is heavy.
we got my daughter. A friend of mine brought over an electronic set, so
All right.
yeah, I can deal with that. But yeah, no, it's my. I'm sure my parents were heavily annoyed. We were always down there just making racket, and but it was just nothing but love. And all right, they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna figure it out. That
I
was
think
that
that's
was
really
the whole.
awesome. Did you guys have any professional lessons too, or is it just all natural? Because I mean, it sounds like you guys are all natural to begin with. So
I actually believe it or not, that sounds cocky, but I did have a hard time with the guitar when I first got it. My brother had a natural ability to pound out a beat and go to like church or whatever and play on the drums, and I always thought, wow, he should have a kit. I never played a guitar before they purchased me one. I knew I wanted one. Um, I played the bass a little bit, but that's a single note kind of instrument. And the guitar, I had smaller hands. And so, yeah, I took about 3 months of professional lessons. And I had a really cool teacher. His name was Tommy Lee, a guitar player. And he would, every time I get there, he would buy me a Mountain Dew, and it was in the glass bottle.
wow.
And he would say, don't tell your mom I bought you a Mountain Dew. All right. So instantly I'm going, this guy's awesome. I got a Mountain Dew. There's 2 guitars, 2 amps. And he would just say, look, I can do one of 2 things. I can show you theory and this and that, or we can just jam. And I was like, well, what's jamming? And he started playing, something. And he goes, do you like how it sounds? I said, yeah. Show me just how to do exactly that. So our lessons were, I would get it down, and then he would take a solo, and then he would play, and he would say, this is kind of the space that you can start in,
Mm-hmm.
and why don't you do something over top? So yeah, I had a really cool teacher. And then unfortunately we moved to St. Louis, and I didn't have that. I went to one lesson, I think, and I thought it was a real old guy, and
Stu Leonard type of stuff going on.
super boring.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, it was books, VHS tapes, slowing the thing down and playing it back. But yeah, I did have a little bit of professional lessons.
Very, very good. So so you had a family band. Did you like outside influences too? Before you started like a high school band, and then like so obviously there's an evolution from there to to start moving and playing professionally. Like,
Yeah. I had a band with my twin brother. It was called the Gibbs brothers. And we were 13 when we formed that band. And we couldn't play out anywhere without a supervision. So we had this brilliant idea that we would hire my dad to play bass, because he played bass. So now we could get gigs because we had a supervisor, and he was in our band. And so the Gibbs brothers went on till 2010. Wow. And that's really how I met some of the people I met. We were young enough and got lucky enough to meet a promoter that believed in us and put us on. Well, our first show was with Peter Frampton, our first big show. And from yeah, and from that it just went to the Doobie Brothers, to REO Speedwagon, to Poison, to Kansas, to Foreigner. And that's how we spent our youth. A lot of other people had sports games and things, and we were athletic, but we didn't live for it. We lived for what we did on the weekend. So yeah, that was the early days, the Gibbs brothers. And
were you guys a cover band or original? Covers original?
It was kind of it was original, but in order to we weren't at that point where we could play 90 minutes and just, thanks, good night. Mm-hmm. We had to play the 4-hour circuit. Yeah. And so we did we did 50-50. And as we got into our late teens, it became more of an original show, as we had more interest mm-hmm. from like higher ups, we morphed into something of our own a little bit. But the early days of total covers, and then we would sneak one in, and we'd hope that the bar owner or whoever didn't notice. And so
This is a new Def Leppard song.
yeah, exactly. This is off a Def Leppard record that you've never heard.
Yeah, this is an import over from Japan. So when you guys were doing it, did you guys do any independent releases or anything? Like EP stuff? Because this is around the time the digital age is kind of happening too. So you're in a different generation now than the other guys. You know,
I mean, younger. We recorded a couple CDs. We did one called New Breed, which is all original. And we really did that one like out of the trunk of the car kind of sales. Or merchandise at our shows. It didn't have like a platform, a national platform at all. If you saw a show, you could get a CD, or you could order it off like CD Baby or whatever. And then we did a record with my bandmate Ricky Rocket called Brothers in Arms. He produced it. Yeah. And
how'd you same thing from the tour you met? Did you meet him on the tour? Like, how did you guys now at this point you're starting to overlap with other musicians? Like, so with Ricky obviously being known in another band, how did you start collaborate? Was it because you guys opened for him and then you guys made a friendship and then like, oh, we should do something together? And it actually happened. As every musician says, we should do something together.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were kids and we were opening for him, and we had a handful of shows with him. And my brother asked Ricky, he says, well, I know you got a home studio. Would you ever produce anything for us? Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah. So we flew out there, and he, you know, at that point, it was kind of like after you open up for him enough, you're friends. And, mm-hmm. And then of course, later in life, in my later, I think I was 28 or 29 when he asked me to join the Devil City Angels. But yeah, no, we opened for him. That's how every single relationship started. Was we opened for him, we mind our manners, and then if you do that right, you can move further ahead than if you're an egotistical band. That's how we met a lot of people was opening for them, mm-hmm. and creating relationships, which came in handy for me when it became time to be a solo artist and reach out to different people.
And where were you based at that point when you were touring? Were you still as a family in St. Louis, or had you started moving towards LA? And
we went to ironically, we moved back to Iowa, and we based everything out of Iowa, which in a way was it kind of helped us because we were centrally located. We could kind of get anywhere, mm-hmm. you know, quicker than some, but it held us back a little bit. We were somewhat of a big fish in a very small pond. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I moved to Nashville where things really, really opened up, and I went more international, and got to play other countries. You know, that's ahead of the story, but yeah. We did our fair share of touring, all from the state of Iowa.
That's cool. That's something you wouldn't expect.
No, and anytime I tell anybody, I don't care if I'm on a cruise ship or playing, you know, I tell people where everything started, and you get the same reaction. It's like,
awesome. What? That's what people. Well, that's the thing. That's what people need to know. They should hear. Those are the great things you hear about. You're like, oh, everybody starts out in here. I was from this valley. I did this thing here. You know.
So and I got to be honest. I've been everywhere, and one thing I love about the state of Iowa is everyone works so hard, and they're strong people, and I don't think I would have gone as far as I have if I didn't have that rooted commitment that you have when you're an Iowa boy with a family. And I'm sure they're out there, but all my friends and people I choose to keep in my life are very motivated people and hard workers. And it could be, I don't really hang with musicians on my off time. I see them on the road and they go their way and I go my way. I hang with people like mechanics and people that restore cars, and I enjoy boxing. So I have a couple friends that box. I really just kind of keep out of the element, and when I'm here in Iowa, but I credit a lot of my career to what I've seen with my own eyes in living in the Midwest.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, it also probably keeps you grounded, the work ethic,
Hmm.
probably keeps you from away from, when you're younger, the road and the temptation and the musicians. And there's a lot of, I could have imagined with my decision making process being out in that time period.
Oh,
So,
I've had temptation.
right.
I've
So,
had.
but you have this family, get these roots. It's a little different. So you always know, you know what I mean? It's not like, yeah,
Yes.
so I think that probably helps you out a lot. I mean, it's, important part of who you are.
Well, and it really didn't seem that much different when I moved to Nashville. It was there nothing but hardworking people there in the South and the Bible Belt.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I came from that in a way, and I moved to Tennessee, and I felt more at home. I can tell you this: I wasn't going to Los Angeles. We recorded there, but I wasn't going to move there. It's just not for me. Um, I love visiting and I love playing there, but no, I needed to have a little bit more kind of conservative uh, stuff I was used to. Prayer, people saying "God bless you." That makes my heart melt. And I'm not a good. I sound like a goody two shoes, but I'm absolutely not. I just that stuff makes me comfortable because it's what I grew up with.
I'm a big fan of manners. So like when you say this and like I actually think it, and it's gotten me way further in life by saying please and thank you and having gratitude. It will
Yes.
carry you so far. I was just talking in doing this show, talking to a few other musicians that are younger. They said, I just kept my head down. I worked hard. I was polite. I put the time in, and it carried me so far. So you're not the only person to say that. I mean, it clearly indicates. Of course, it wasn't just easy for you. You know what I mean? But that's such an important thing for people to do. You know,
Sure.
you can be awesome and be that jerk, and you better be awesome, like ridiculously, like from another planet, awesome. Because nobody wants to be, especially nowadays. Just know this isn't the rock star days where this is
No,
1989, and you could, everyone gets a different bus, and you only talk on stage. There's a few bands you could do that now, but you know what I'm saying.
there are a couple, but no, that's
You want is somebody
absolutely.
you can hang with and talk to, and who's a good person. A lot of people have
Yeah,
kids now. They take their kids on the road in the van. They bring their wives. It's a family function. It's you know what I mean. They don't
it
want.
is for me. And I, sometimes I get laughed at a little bit because I'll bring my mom or what out to the shows, and I'm like, look, I'm here for just a minute. I'm a blip on this planet, a blip.
Mhm.
I'm going to take the ones with me that I love the most. I'm
I
gonna
love that
spend
you take your
most.
mom. That is so awesome.
Oh, I take her. She's managed me this whole time. Even in Devil City, she's managed my travel, and
That's
um,
so great.
yeah. And so I'm one of those guys. It's like if that makes me a pussy, for lack of better words, that I'm such a family guy. Go ahead and put a check right there. I'll be that guy. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to live a moment or a minute without any of my family, and so I try and make the most of it.
I don't think that does that. I mean, here, be a man, make your own decision. Don't talk to your wife. I mean, a man makes his own decision, talks to his partner, whether it's a man and a woman or man and man, one woman, regardless of relationship. You talk to your partner. You work things. You respect each other. You respect your family. That's
Yes.
being a human. Those are the important things. Doing whatever you want is called being a jackass and selfish.
Sure. Yes.
That's it. That's really what it comes down to. So yeah, whoopie doo. You can call me a name. You're still the jackass, and you're gonna die
Yeah.
alone. So, I
Yep.
think it's awesome, man. I really do. I think that's salt to the earth type of stuff. So you're in a lot of bands too, and you do solo.
Yeah.
Are they all functioning at the same time, or are they just kind of a mixture here and there?
Well, no, they don't. They all really have their own seasons. Um,
Okay.
I never stopped being a solo artist ever, and I actually have a record deal with Golden Robot Records out of Australia, and they bring out all my solo stuff. And Devil City is a season. I have a group called Cheap Thrill
Yep.
that has a revolving cast of characters. and that's a season. And then and I mean season like based on availability, when and everyone can do it. But yeah, no, it's a any given time I go out acoustically a lot. I have a project with Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake called the Campfire Tour.
He's really good. He's a good player.
Oh my God, he's a wonderful person. But yeah, no, I have several things. I think you kind of have to right now. You know, you make your income off of getting off your duff and doing work and going out. So I love working in all the projects. It's still have to kind of pinch myself sometimes that, you know, when things got rough back in the day and I thought I'd never ever see the light of day in the industry, and here I am, you know, just blessed. I'm not up, you know, all the way, but I'm happy to be on any rung, to be honest, of the ladder. I'm happy just to be on the damn ladder. So
Well, you're on one of the few rock labels too, actually. Now it's Frontiers and then Golden Robot are the only ones that are really honoring rock and roll that would have been, you know, in the heyday, or just, you know, I'm not comparing genre because I also talk like the 70s, you know, bands that actually got to build up a reputation, you know, a couple albums before they had to become platinum, you know.
Yeah.
So when I say rock, you know, bands, I mean across the genre, not just that. But yeah, there's not a lot of rock bands out there that do that. Labels that are supporting rock. Frontiers
does a great job. Golden Robot's killing it.
Yep.
I hate to say this, but it's really like all there is right now.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's all I've ever heard of. And I keep hearing more about Golden Robot. You know, first it was Frontier, now I'm hearing Golden Robot is also doing the same thing.
Yeah, Mark, the owner of Golden Robot, he's an Australian guy, and actually the same guy that helped Devil City Angels get signed, Derek Schulman, is the one that essentially got me signed as Brandon. He loved the record. He liked how it sounded, and he thought that it had powerful hooks. And he knew I was writing the majority of. I was writing the lyrics to these songs, and several Gibbs Brothers songs went on the Devil City record, and then of course the rest was collaboration with the fellas. But he just was a fan of my writing, and he said, "Why don't you come out to I was playing in Arizona, and he sent a message, goes, "Get a flight, come out to Los Angeles in the morning or whatever." And we went to the Jeremiah Hotel there, and I met with Golden Robot and Derek, and the rest is kind of history. It took a month or so to get details together, but yeah, no, I'm real happy there. Golden Robot, they gave me a deal, but I don't have to go in there and go, all right, I'm writing an album. I got 12 weeks to write an album.
Right.
I do a single, release it, do a single, release it.
Well, and it's a person. Like he's a person, and it's not like this headless corporation. He's a human that says, yeah, create, be an artist. It sounds like
he's a massive music fan. And I appreciate that approach, letting me say, because I'm not one of those guys, I've said this before in interviews, I'm not one of those guys that sits down for the day and writes 3 songs. You know, come home and hold the notebook, look at my I wrote 3 songs. I have to like bleed. I got to marinate. I got to really think about it and hurt or be happy or sulk in it. And so this was the best.
When you do this, is that what you're doing? Are you actually, do you sit down and try writing it? Like, you know, do you like, I have an idea, or do you have to wait till you have an idea, or do you just kind of noodle around and see what you come up with?
It's never consistent. I could be walking through Target and have a melody in my head, and I'll take my phone out. Thank God, technology, you can just take your phone out and spit it right into your voice memo and have it when you get home. Sometimes I'll email it to myself, pull it up on my computer. I'll have that voice memo playing, and then I'll grab my guitar and I'll play with it. You know, and but anytime anybody says, right, you get us a song by tomorrow, that's real tough. I have to go, which emotion am I going to go through? Which life changing event, be it fun, be it sad, be whatever am I going to target? And then I got to go in there and find those emotions and really pound on those strings and see what ticks.
Oh, wow.
And then it comes out with my pen. And so I'm more of a difficult songwriter in that way. And there are guys that do it really well, especially in Nashville. They can write 3 songs a day, and I hear that all the time. I'm just not that guy.
When anybody I've ever talked to, that's one of the favorite questions I love to ask is what the process is, because everyone's got a different way, Glenn Matlock has a different way. He's like, because if I think of it, if I don't remember it, it's not a good song, because you want to remember a song. Because it must have been crap if you don't remember it. I forget from going up the stairs stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I'd have to write everything down because I forget everything, important or not. And he said, he's like, I write all my songs. I'm going for a walk. So unfortunately, all that mid-tempo beat. Someone else says, no, I write songs all the time. And if I like it, I bank it and go back to it. And some people are like, no, like you, I've never heard anybody say that they can write that many songs a day like that, though.
If I'm writing a song, it's a boxing match. And like this next song that's going to come out with Golden Robot is called Lost Boys. I wrote in 2 months, I wrote probably 5 songs to get to this one. And that doesn't sound like an astronomical amount of songs leading up to the one I was happy with, but that's how much time I spend figuring out if this is something that is going to work. And when I leave the house and am wait in line to pick my daughter up from school, am I still singing that in my head? Is that melody still going in my head? And if it's not, it's time for turn the page. But when you leave the house excited and you're buying a coffee and you're sitting there singing it to yourself, you're going, okay, if it happens to me, it should happen to somebody else.
Well, it's pretty good. You have like revisions and stuff to kind of lay it down. Man, it would really been hard for you back in the day when you had to come back off the tour and be like, all right, boys, 2 weeks to write and then a month to record, and you got your second album. We want 11 songs. And need some, and we have a few for the imports too.
That might work if everybody was a lyricist. That might work. When most of the roles I've played, it's me who writes the words, and those become personal. And when I leave this earth, I want people to sing those songs back. And so I'm very aware that this is bigger than me. It's going to last longer than me. So I really want to get it where it needs to be.
I can get that. I respect that. Well, I think a lot of bands, though, I've yet to see many bands that can all be writers from the very beginning, from the first album. They all co-write, and it always works out all the way through. Like usually it's a main songwriter, and second album, everyone wants to write because money, and then it doesn't sound the same anymore. Because they can all be good songwriters, but it's not the sound that everybody fell in love with at the album deal. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it changes on a different level. On who you are if you have a deal or what you're signed. And I also think that it's got to be challenging to not sing your own lyrics. You know what I mean? In the bands, there's a few bands that the singers write some songs, but just sing other people's lyrics a lot. You really got to like their lyrics because you're the one singing and you are so attached to those lyrics.
Nikki Sixx did an amazing job of that. Because Vince, they had a thing. He was writing for Vince and Vince's voice, and it is hard. Like I have a whole notebook of lyrics from people, and I have a hard time. People send me songs. Hey, can you put some music to this? And I read their lyrics, and I'm not sure of their cadence. I'm not sure of their syllable placings.
Yep.
I don't know if I could. When I did the stuff with Poison. Or excuse me, the members of Poison, I sang for them in
the special guest
with a special guest, in 2015.
Which is what got Poison touring again, by the way.
Hey, some say that.
I'm saying it right now. I think somebody's like, all right, maybe I shouldn't solo so much. I want my voice back.
I don't know if that's the case, but I'll take it.
I'll tell you, as a fan of music, I saw that, I was like, I see this one coming.
Yeah. it got them going again, or maybe they just, who knows, maybe it did or didn't.
No.
Nonetheless, if you think it did, then I'll take it. But no, but that singing that stuff was very, very easy, because they were established songs, and I had a reference point. Everybody knows those
Right.
songs. You know of them, and
Well, I know them all.
yeah,
So,
so
doing
that was
cover
easy.
songs. Was it weird? I'm sorry, I didn't step over you. Was it kind of like doing cover songs, but you're with the band, so it's not really a cover song anymore.
Pretty much.
So
Pretty
it's just
much.
you singing with the band. So it's,
Yeah, it was like live band karaoke for me.
which is pretty awesome.
Only there's like 10,000 people in front of you.
And you have the 3 seasoned players that know what they're doing.
Awesome. Those guys could play that stuff behind their head in their sleep, and so having those guys that are seasoned, and these hits have been played so many times, it was really easy for me. It wasn't like they were trying to figure it out. It's already been figured out. It was my job just to more or less make them happy.
Mm-hmm. Actually, writing like with Nikki Sixx, yes, when he writes for Vince, right? And Nikki's actually a story writer too, so it's not surprising that he can gravitate to it. It's almost like artists that do that can actually write in somebody else's mind. Like when you write a story or a screenplay, you can put yourself in that character. And some people just can't. That's just a skill set. That's like being an actor. You're a musician, an actor, but to do a couple different things, it's like an extra skill set to add to your singing, songwriting, because Nikki's thinking of that. He's, of course, then he's thinking of what's the range of it, how many, everything like that. So that's, just like, Iron Maiden, Steve Harris, and just are a bunch of bands that do that, and they have to stick to that, theme.
It's a good point. If you can write good books, I suppose there's, Dr. Feelgood. I mean, when that song comes on the record, you kind of start painting the picture in your head.
Absolutely.
Jigsaw Jimmy's running the gang, or the 60 whatever Primered Gray. I mean, I'm going, wow, it's
a story. It's a
hood rat,
right? But if you listen to the expanded version, or one of the things was on iTunes I came across by accident, was going through, totally different lyrics, which totally messes you up because you're so used to hearing it one way. But it has all different lyrics in the song, whole different way. So clearly,
there's another version. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like one of the versions, they changed the lyrics. It was different. So he's always revisioning. So imagine writing lyrics to an entire song and then being like, nah, I don't like them. I'm going to change it around a little bit.
Yeah,
I remember the courses, but a lot of lyrics were different. I mean, it's crazy. So that is such a storytelling, musical talent on top of just songwriting. You know what I mean?
Even as heavy as that song is, the intro, I mean, it's heavy, and it gets you doing this with your head, right? Even as heavy as it is, Nicky is one of those talents that he can still paint you something, and you're ready to buy it because
it's a melody. There's a melody there too, right? He always has a melody.
There's
a melody. He has I think it was because of Strawberry. It was his influence. Like he always had that pop melody in the back of his head with the heavy thing, and it's done him well.
Well, I will say this: it has worked out for the man.
Right? Everything he does sounds, has a sound. He's doing well. And he's actually
he's a hard worker.
He's living far away too from rock and roll land. He's out in the hills now. Everyone's moving away, living out in the hills.
I saw that. What is that? Wyoming?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like, I think I'm more in the city than he is.
Yeah. Well, now, but look at we're talking now here. I mean, it's become such a thing with everybody. It's so acceptable. It's not like, hey, future man. It's pretty much what it is. And a lot of bands have got it locked down where they can rehearse. Some bands can't. They're like, I'm old school. I gotta be in the room. I gotta sweat. I got to knock over your beer onto your amp and get you mad at me. I got to do something, right? And some people are like, no, actually, I like my space. Nobody messes with my stuff. You're kind of a slob. You can stay at your house. We all connect. Put my headphones on. We're done. I go upstairs and watch TV or take my dog out for a walk.
Yeah.
So there's two different ways of handling that,
That's how Devil City Angels wrote our last single. We actually released this year, called Testify. Everybody was at home.
Really? Yeah, because I've listened to that. I've listened always, before I sit with an artist, I listen to like a bunch of their music collectively at once. And as a review, and I heard your album a while back, but then I listened to it again today in comparison to the new one. And there really isn't a big difference. Like, so it did jump out to me like, oh, that sounds like computerized, like from the distance or sterile. It's, there really is, it's not a beat missed, just to let human feel.
Not really. And I credit Joel Kosha to that, the guitar player that has been doing work, I guess, with us. He actually was on tour with me with a band called Planet Axe, and which had Ryan Roxy and all these guys. And he flew to my house and sat with me and while we did this. And so I had a little bit of hands-on with him. I could speak to him about direction, and but no, it was done remotely.
I'm going to say with home recording, there's a couple of people say, well, anybody has going to do the studio in your house, and it all sounds great, no mistakes. I hear that a lot, and I got to be honest with you, just because you have a home studio doesn't mean it sounds great. You can totally and not that it's going to sound like you're around a house banging a couple of pans and stuff, but it can be sound overproduced, too tight, not snappy enough. There's a whole layer of production that you need somebody, like you said, producer. You need somebody with experience in an ear to do it. I mean, you can do it anywhere, but you still need that skill set.
I think for me, for my solo stuff, I have to go to a producer. I have to have. I think if I sat at my house and did it, one, I'd probably overanalyze it. Like you said, it'd be too tight. It wouldn't have such a. You want a little bit of a live feel to it,
right?
And then mainly just having a second pair of ears that is so much more seasoned.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I can write, but I can tell you this: I don't know how to roll off a certain sound that's annoying. Right. I can do it with guitar, but the overall mix of a song, 60 channels, 60 inputs, or whatever, I couldn't pinpoint that like a producer could. And I think you're only as good as your producer. Well, so I just choose not to record at home. I mean, I'll create and write here, but I've I want to be. I want it to be next level, and sometimes that requires me trusting somebody that knows more than me.
I think the majority of people, but the majority of people need that. I think there are some musicians that can produce themselves, and no one can do it better than them. Truly, some people just know it. Sure. But they're also good at self-editing. Can look at this, forest the trees. A lot of people, self-included, anything I do, what do you think about this? Like, where am I not seeing this? Because I'm so into it. And some people can step out of themselves and look at it, which is, a rare thing.
Yeah.
But say, I'm writing a song, you write a song, and you're like, oh, this is perfect. And then you gotta go to bed, you're like, God, I think I need to change this. Next thing you change it, and the whole song is just off, you know what I mean? Or to be like, yeah, I think you need this here, or pull back here a little bit, or just try this one little note here.
If you get someone that understands the whole picture, I want to go where you're going, but I want to do it better. Right. And I got the experience and the records on the walls to take you to the next level. If you can give them that kind of trust. My producer's name's Luke DeJames, and he's out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I completely trust him, hands down. And that's hard to do with your body of work. You come in with a body of work, you're pretty proud. I come in with a body of work, and then we go into a different direction. Now, and it's always been that way.
Devil's advocate here. So you like him, you open. It's good. Have you worked with a producer, say maybe you haven't trusted, nor just to do a project, right? You've worked with them before, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I did. They could be good, but to this question, did you feel like you were holding back though? Like, so like when you have something you trust, you feel like you might push more, do something a little different. Like with this producer, yes. You're like, I'm not gonna, like, it's not 100%, you're 98%, you're not 110%, you're not,
110%. And in, it wasn't because I didn't have like a warm feeling. I mean, I felt so at home. Like Michael Wagner, he produced
everything.
Everything. I felt so, I mean, he was so gracious and sweet. And however, and intimidation.
Right.
I didn't want to waste his time,
Right.
and not that I ever want to waste anyone's time, but sometimes a timeout and jamming together, like my producer and I he'll grab a guitar and okay, show me what you're thinking. We'll jam together. I knew that Michael, he's on a different level as far as, I mean, he's just done so many great things. And not that my producer hasn't, he totally has, but he has a little bit of old school mentality. And so if I come in and I say, I'm not sure about this part, you run the risk of, are you not prepared?
Right.
You know, and
I think it's good. I think, like even our teachers, you never go to the same class with the same art teachers, as an example, or whatever, professors in college or, or school, whatever. Yet they do two different ways. Sometimes they intimidate you. Sometimes they expect a certain thing and they drive the best out of you because of that. And sometimes the other ones are the ones that kind of pop up on your chair for a minute. They got a quarter a coat, kind of lean into you, and they pull it out of you differently. No one's better than the other ones, and they both pull something out of you. It's just different.
yeah.
So it's not like Michael Wagner's Michael Wagner because he's a badass. Your producer's really good.
He's a bad
he does
boy.
with you. So there's really, it's not a bad thing either way. It's not, I'm saying you're not, saying anything bad about anybody. It's just like literally it's totally different. And when you have this kind of relationship for you, it allows you to go deeper because you have a different kind of like almost like a community friendship goal on the album where sometimes the other producers just getting the best performance that you have put in.
Yeah, precisely. And again, it's two different schools, two different.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And I just feel comfortable. And I think if you're going to record music, one, you got to have the right guys around you. And you got to be able to, you got to be able to chase down a good idea or an idea. You can't just shut it down. And I haven't had any of that ever with I mean, even if he might not like it at first, he'll let me see it through.
Right.
And then maybe the next day we go, not working for me.
Well, I think it's important to have somebody that says, you know what, that's a stinker. I think it's so important in life. I mean, you did everything, but in context here, if you don't, we've seen what happens to those albums, those careers. You're like, wasn't anybody listening to this? Come on.
And
no guitar solos on this album? Come on.
And someone will say, well, you didn't, you had it your way. I don't want to be with a guy that just presses record and goes, excellent.
Right.
I want to be with a guy that says, that's not a great take.
Yeah.
Don't print that.
Yeah. Technically it's good, but I don't think that's you. And it doesn't feel like that's what the song is going.
Correct.
Each song is its own craft. Yes, that's interesting. I like that. I like to hear that kind of stuff. So balancing the home life and work life and the band life, what are you doing now to kind of find a balance? Because so you want to keep busy, you want to play out, you have other schedules, other guys, you're doing solo. So with solo, you can kind of really kind of maneuver it around, Devil City guys or you know what I'm saying? If those guys aren't touring, and then you have your other band. So to find the balance, it's got to be when you sit on a calendar 5 months out and be like, all right, can I do this and this? And make a bunch of phone calls and try, you know what I mean? To coordinate it. I always wondered how people can do that with all the different bands nowadays.
That's pretty much it. I'm sure from an audience point of view, it seems like there's someone magical. Or
magical that you can do 8 bands at once. And I can't even go to work without being late. Yeah.
Or there's someone putting it together for you. I mean, I have a great team, but the fact of the matter is, when I'm ready to go chase down an idea, like Planet X, all guitar driven thing, it really starts with a text to whom I'm targeting. And are you free from this time to this time? And do you want to do it? Nobody has ever come out to me and said, here you go. Everybody's set. It usually is all of us, including the special guest. It was all of us feeling each other out and texting, having late night phone conversations, feeling out temperaments. And it's pretty,
it's like a second job, but it's like a second job. Just like me, say you're now setting up interviews, which is a dot. It's a lot, just coordinating between 2 people, especially a person in the music industry. you know, and you're
Right.
right. It's easier for me. I know what I'm doing, but to coordinate with somebody else and different schedules, and then something I never thought about until I started doing this is everyone lives everywhere. It's not
Yeah.
like in the mecca of one town where you're like, all right, bud, it's 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Everyone's a different time zone.
Yeah.
Nobody lives in the same spot anymore. Like every band has like, yeah, I've done a band, you know, every part of the earth they're at.
We are not a local. None of the things we do are locally produced.
Right. But it's once again, it's a time zone thing for you. So like where you're at, you want to talk to LA or Nashville, like, you know, talking to us, there's a difference. So
Yeah.
then you got to coordinate 3 of the people with different time zones that work for them.
You definitely have to be aware of that, and the fact that we're all a little bit older now, and we have children, and
Yeah.
you got bedtime. You've
So
got
not rock and roll when you're growing up, right? You're like, I can't wait to be out there and sit down and text with 3 other guys in 5 other zones and
yeah,
balance between having kids. I am so working to rock hard on that one.
and most of us are reading bedtime stories, going, "Hey, I'll get back to you," you know, or
Which is the best. And I think that's the importance. One of the goals of the show is that I want people to know, you know, not only are they playing out, you're enjoying the shows, they're just like you, going home. They need to make their wages. They need to work. They're taking care of their kids, and they get to same stuff we do. Then they're going out and putting on a smile on their face and doing a show in the
yeah,
next town. So when things happen and they can't make it, sometimes you know a lot of like foreign bands can't come into America because I didn't know we had a tax of like they have to pay like some kind of thing just to get it looked into for like $5,000 to come into the country before they can do anything else, and they get turned down on that paperwork and lose all that money, and then all of a sudden it looks like the band is blowing off gigs in America and it looks bad for the band.
sure,
Like that's
yeah,
insane. But you wouldn't know that, you know, or somebody being like, you know, your show. I think people should buy shirts all the time. I totally, I have too many to ask me. But the point is, you know, when they're like, oh man, it's whatever, man, you know, $20, $40 for a shirt, you know, and they're complaining. It's like, there's a bus outside. It takes like, you know, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000 a day in gas. You know how much it costs to get travel a band around? I'm like, you need to buy 2 shirts and shut up. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you guys are the ones that keep us alive, and everything you just said is 110% reality.
Most people
I
don't
mean,
look at it that way. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, they think
no,
you're living it.
we got, you know, if we do a bus, man, we look really sharp, and we are comfortable.
Right.
And
And you
there's
should be.
nothing like being you know, asleep and waking up at the next place.
But not being sick because you're taking care of your body. It's like an athlete and performing. There's nothing
Yes.
wrong with having a nice bus or a nice ride. When you're getting excessive is when you're throwing pianos out the window into pools, and that's when you're like, all right, guys, maybe that's just a little too much. But having a
Well,
good schedule and a nice tour and a hotel room and sometimes like a launch pad or something, and healthy
sleep.
foods, sleep, healthy food. Sometimes people on the
Yep.
road with you help you do that, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
you want to be in your
I mean,
best.
that's really how you can stay out there. And people and myself in the past, I'll burn it down. You know, stay up, and I'm
Right.
so overjoyed, and the next day, you're not yourself, and you'll learn real quick if you're going to be a pro. You have to curve your habits,
Yeah.
and treat it like a job. If you don't treat it like a job, you know, it won't last that long for you. I box, I diet. I'm always drinking water. If I drink alcohol on the road, I'm ready to. You know, it doesn't go past a certain hour for me anymore. Um, yeah, I mean, you have to take care of yourself, and the crew and everybody is 110% your backbone, and you don't want to break that backbone.
No,
And you
and
got
the
to
crew.
appreciate them.
Yeah, and just the thing with the crew, once again, totally underrated, and they're even lower on the food chain for finances. They don't have any merch to sell. It's even harder for them, and that's kind of the thing with with COVID. People go on the band websites. A lot of bands are raising money. There's a lot of things out there. I want people to go on every support your bands. If you can
Definitely.
afford it right now. I mean, obviously some people are out of work, and that's ridiculous. You wouldn't want to invest if you don't have the money. You don't do that. But if you have a little extra and you really love your band, they're also in a spot. No one's sitting around and throwing caviar plates at each other and something ridiculous like it used to be.
Yeah.
People are just working, and
Oh,
artists aren't complaining about it either. And that's my whole point. Is it's nice, but someone's got to say, I think, out loud that
we're no different
yeah,
than anybody. I mean, it's just that simple. And the prestige of a show coming together is, and the fancy lights and the gear and all that. I mean, that I understand how someone could be like, wow, they have everything that they've ever wanted and a nice coach outside that's warm and ready to take them to the next show. But the fact of the matter is, all that stuff costs money, just like bills that you pay
Right.
every month. And so it just, I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but at the end of the day, we're just no different.
No, and I agree with you. And that's kind of, like I said, that's one of the crazy goals of this is like people deal with it. And you got artists and they get done, they smile, they get done. They have depression or they have, diabetes or they have issues and they're just rocking, man. And I think when it gets done, you look at it and be like, respect it even more because just like everyone else, I tell you, at the end of my day, I'm not going on tour. I'm not going to be rocking things at the night. It's a special night when I go out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So to do that at that level, especially as you're getting older, I mean, it's very respectful. Even more so to me. I mean, I think, or to have like, why are the backing tracks? You know what it costs to have 2 extra singers on the road, 2 extra this, 2 extra that. That's why. I mean, if you can just kind of create your own version, I think it's better. Like to kind of because you don't have to do the exact song, but there's always reasons for some of these things. Beyond that. I mean.
Yeah. Like we have in Devil City, we'd have one tech take care of all the stringed instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have one tech take care of the drums. It wasn't a tech for each person, and there are bands that have that and deserve it. But the time I'm living in now, you really have to be smart and think about it. Can we do that? Because when I go home, I'll be straight. I want to have money when I go home.
Why would you just not make money?
Exactly. I want it. And so if I'm out there, I'm sure I could get certain amenities, but then why am I doing it? Why did I leave my family and come back with very little, but I look good doing it? I'm here to pay. I'm here to keep this house. I'm here to keep
There's no reason. Yeah, you have to mortgage, and I think people go, well, who cares about that? I mean, you live a rock and roll life. You do what you want. Well, guess what? You went to college, and whatever your job is, you do what you like. You still like to get paid. You want to pay your mortgage, even though you're doing what you like. So it's good to do what you like, and it's good to have money, and it's good because as a musician, you don't have health insurance or this and that. So you're gonna need extra money to put away. It's like being a freelancer for the rest of your life. You got to put it away, and then you get taxed ridiculously on top of that. So now you're doing math. You're a musician, and you're doing math. That totally sucks.
You got to look at it like we're farmers. When it rains, things grow, and then all of a sudden you have things to sell. And sometimes success is that way for us. Sometimes it'll rain in a good way on us, and we grow as artists, and we have a season where we go out and make bank. However, you got to know that that's seasonal, and there's going to be a newer artist that's coming out that's going to steal your thunder. It will come back around. You can't get depressed about it. It'll come back around at some point when you reinvent, but you have to save your damn money. Because I mean, I only do music, and I have for a long time, and I'm fortunate enough to have guidance on spending, knowing that it's not going to last forever. And if you realize that, you're going to be in good shape. You'll be better than most.
Which is horrible to hear some of these rock and roll tragedies. And I think the 80s and 90s really kind of set up a lot of people because you really thought you're getting this, and all of a sudden you get billed for this, and you're advances on this, and the whole, everyone knows the story at this point. Things have changed now.
Yeah.
And as artists are going out there, a little more reality. People are getting it a little differently. COVID's going to change things again. I think the things are kind of picking up a little bit better for people because then artists are like, you know what? I don't need the label to sell my shirts. I can make my own shirts, and I can collect more of a percentage off the selling. I can sell less shirts and make more money. By not getting somebody else involved in it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or any kind of that stuff. Now you get more independence from the labels and stuff. Depending on who your distributor is. I mean, you have a Golden Robot, and for the record, I would call him all time just to hear his Australian accent. I'd ask him the craziest questions just to hear that awesome accent.
Well, I
think it's the best accent ever.
I have a tour there next spring of next year, and I've never played in Australia, so my daughter and I, every night we get on YouTube and watch like Australian fishing and wildlife and all that stuff and the
Everything will
accents.
kill you, right? Everything in Australia will kill you.
Everything is 100 times, you know,
bigger.
A mud crab is like this big, and
every spider is poisonous, and on top of that, it has sharp teeth. Once it kills you, it'll just eat you. Yeah.
You just need to carry a freaking handgun when you're there, I think. Not for the people, but for the wildlife.
Wildlife, that's pretty funny.
Suck your blood.
That's gonna be an awesome show. I mean, just a tour, just being on this, gonna be so much fun. You know,
it's supposed to be 3 weeks that we'll spend there. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to actually sightseeing. Anytime we play Europe or different countries, or you don't get to see much because you're on the go. They want to make, the agents want to make the most of it while you're there. So you're really looking at life outside of either a van window or a bus window, and you don't really get to marinate and spend time.
Sometimes throwing those extra pickup shows right between gigs to pay for gas. You know, oh, you got to night off in between. On the way there, we have a place you can go way out of your way, almost around.
Yeah,
do an extra show that you weren't prepared for. Is you know type of deal. Do you try bringing your family out sometimes too? I mean,
all the time.
I would feel like as a father, I'm on tour doing guitar playing, but guys, we're going over to Australia on top of it.
None of the fam bam is going to that one. Because I'll do it when it's comfortable. If my people are taken care of, if it's a little posh, then I'll take them out. But if it's me per usual, going into a situation where I'm going to be on my feet all day, whether it be interviews or, standing in a green room that has no extra room, then I'm just, nah.
I say like an example, some place like it'd be like a fun vacation place with a family, like, yeah, kind of at that time I want to share with them.
Hey, Sierra, can you refill my glass, please? Sorry, my wife just walked over here. But yeah, no, they come out with me quite a bit. And actually there's a video, I think it's on my Instagram. I think I was with Alice Cooper and opening for Alice, and my daughter's in the grandstands. They gave her, my wife and her, like their own suite.
Nice.
You know, and it's the nosebleeds, but there's the spotlight. I mean, they could see the whole show and not be pushed around. And my daughter, is like waving to me from the grandstands and jumping up and down. And so yes, as arrogant as it sounds, I will take them out if it's posh and it's warm. And the fans like meeting them. They love the videos and stuff that I post on Instagram with my family. So yeah, I do take them out.
That's pretty awesome. What are you using for instruments right now? What are your favorites? Or do you have Horseman, or especially you're kind of like known for, like what kind of?
I was with Paul Reed Smith for a little bit, and I still have all their guitars, and I just absolutely love their instruments. As a lead singer that plays guitar, they're light. Mm-hmm. They feel good on my back. I noticed like my posture is better. Mm-hmm. But who can deny the glory of a good old fat Les Paul on your back? It feels like you got a machine gun. So Paul Reed Smith, for me, I got to give a shout out to them because it's superior guitars in my opinion. Gibson, I have a collection of Gibsons. I love Gibson acoustics.
Do you have one of the classic the SG that everyone loves? That someday
I do have an SG. I actually just got it the beginning of the year and fell in love with it. I think it's going to be in my photo shoot for this upcoming song. But yeah, I got the SG, the Explorers. Again, the Gibson. I think Gibson makes the best acoustics, and 90% of the time, that's where I start my songwriting. Fender. Oh my God, they just have a time and place, and once you put a Fender on, there's a certain sound that comes out of your amp, and your hand, you play it differently. And I was a big Stevie Ray Ray Vaughan fan growing up, and so I know what I like. I don't really dabble too much in off brands.
Well,
I
there's
have a lot
nothing.
of
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of weird ones. I'll pick up. I love crazy sounds, but each one is also like you said. Each one's a different sound, a different color for you. You have things you enjoy more or plays better because sometimes someone has a fat baseball neck or has a better neck because everyone's built differently. Physically, I love that guitar, but I mean, when I first started playing, I got like a Flying V, which is ridiculous. I'm like, I can't sit with this thing. It's awesome, but I can't sit with this. If I'm ever going to play it anywhere, it's going to have to be out on my bed. You have to put it on a stage, sitting down, playing it for everybody. No, I can't play with a Flying V. Now,
honestly, that's one of the reasons I used to ask Tracy if I could play one of his Flying V's one time, and he would always say it's a different animal.
Yeah.
And I've never purchased one for that fact because I like grabbing it and all right, let me get but if it's slanted and it's going off your lap.
I tell you, after doing that, after having it for a while, actually, I'm trading it for an acoustic guitar. I was like, it's killing me. But after that, I was like, I see somebody like Tracy or anybody else who has a Flying V or the boys at Scorpions or anybody really. It's just like another level.
They look so awesome.
Yeah, but or then they look like a half sit down acoustic thing or a strumming thing, and they're half sitting down with it. I'm like, how are you doing that? What are you, a wizard? Yeah,
you got to do an Albert King, and you kind of have to stick the middle of it right on top of your thigh.
Then you're playing a different instrument. That's a mandolin or one of those. That's different. Can you play like that? You've been learning to play like this. Then also you can do this.
It's not comfortable, I'll tell you that.
Right. It's insane.
Albert made it work, but I love hollow bodies too. I have a custom guitar. It's called a Commander. It's a Shoemaker guitar out of the Quad City or Moline, Illinois, which is not that far from me. Guy built it for me. It's a Telly. It's hollowed out. It's got 2 humbuckers in it, and it screams. I was with Sublime for a little bit. They were a company out of Tampa. I even have an Epiphone 335 that has stood the test of time. I got it when I was in the first band, and I'm kind of a gear junkie. I just love gear, and I think each guitar, each amp, each cable, really, you're kind of identifying your sound.
I think with guitars, it's like I love going to pawn shops and finding a guitar. I always talk about like behind me as an right over here, it's Aria Pro 2 from like 1983. I can't even figure out like the exact as Wildcat or whatever. I can't even find it in the catalog. I bought it off of somebody for $40.
Nice.
For a Stratty type guitar. It's awesome. But I'll play anything. I love Ibanez. I'll play I think Epiphone has some really great guitars. I think it just depends on the sound.
With Epiphone, you have to pick out, in almost any new guitar these days.
Yes.
The older guitars, a lot of times, if you just change the strings, tweak the neck, you got a great instrument. There's a lot of stuff out there that isn't put together so great, new, and you'd be surprised at the brand at the top of the headstock.
No, the factories are really weird the way they do that. They're like almost the same company and they're the same everything.
Yeah, and you get so disappointed. Like a brand new guitar, let's say you pay $2,000 for it, you probably put $250 into getting it right.
Yep.
Which is weird. It really, I mean, I understand a string setup and height and stuff like that, but when you're paying to get, when I got signed with Devil City, I went out and I think I used our advance to buy a new Gibson, brand new, and I could not play it. The nut was cut like an Explorer, and it's a Les Paul, so the head goes like this. The grooves in it were slanted, so it had no chance of ever staying in tune. And I was really, really bummed about that. The jack was instantly bad for the cable. It was a Frank, and it was the prettiest guitar I've ever owned.
Did you tweak it or return it?
I tweaked it. I took it back to Guitar Center. I bought it at Guitar Center. Well, I bought it in Guitar Center in Los Angeles, but I took it to a local Guitar Center. They honored it. They fixed it up, and it was within 2 weeks, everything was right back to normal. Right back to can't play it. It's
wow.
Never go. I did the Vegas Music Awards in 2005 14. And I remember like my guitar tech said, "How many guitars you want?" And I said, "Well, we're doing 2 songs, so one and then a backup.
Right.
But I want my new Gibson I just bought." And he spent all day on it, all day on it. And he goes, "I think it's gonna." I go, "Nope. I think is not gonna work." Okay. We got Nick Cage in the front row because his son was
Oh
on
yeah.
his son
Man.
was on the bill.
Yep.
And I just thought, I think in front of, I didn't give a damn about anybody else. I'm such a Nick Cage fan.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a damn about anybody else except pleasing that guy. And so I'm like, we're not, the new one, it isn't working. Bring out the 2011. He
And
goes,
in fairness, though,
"Done."
he's a big music fan.
He is.
So that is a good gauge to you know, what I mean, if you can go aim there, you probably hit everybody else too. I'm gonna say, I think and note on this, I think with some of the guitars, I've heard that with the Squires, like some of the Squire bolts are just fantastic. Some of the guitars, oh, if it's a Squire, it's a lesser version. The Squires actually sound better than what they're being copied from. I mean, it's pretty crazy, you know.
I think if you get a Squire and you set it up and you have the strings come down to a place that you're comfortable with, it's a great guitar to start out on.
A lot of people say like, "Oh, my old Squire sounds better than my new," because the way they used to make them.
I've heard stories exactly like that, and I identify with all of them because I've had Epiphone acoustics that will outring any Gibson acoustic I've had.
Yep.
And I've had Frankenstein guitars that are pieced together from parts and things like that. And those are always interesting to me because I'm a big car guy. I love parts coming from different areas and that sound better than the American Strat, the top Strat that I got in my arsenal. You have to play it.
Well, I think that's the best advice. I don't think, when I started out, I would kind of go, "So this is a problem. This is what you need to get." When you start out, someone says, "You know what? Sit down. How does it sound to you? Don't look at the label. Don't look at." It was Jordache at one point, and then it's Levi's, and it's this, and it's that. It's just It's just a pair of jeans. If I tear the label off, just a pair of jeans. How does it fit? How does it sound to you?
Well said.
And
Very well said.
I think, unfortunately, that like everything else, there's the name brand, and you're playing a Squire. What do you? Is it your first guitar? Actually, no. Some of the Squires sound better than. So it's crazy.
And you kind of have to do away with the okay, he doesn't have any money because he's playing this brand. That is so stupid. If you really like something and it is cheaper, money wise, don't not buy it because it's cheaper.
I don't think I could ever buy a brand new like $2,000 guitar and feel good about it. Like, I love to go to pawn shops and haggle. I like the whole process and taking it down and playing with it. And it's who made this? Who is this person?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's got the weirdest. What is this wood? What is this made out of? It's like the crazy. Was it made out of driftwood from some like creepy movie, or like you don't know, but it sounds great. Or you're like kind of, or it looks kind of cool. Let me see if I can take it apart and add some things and change the sound. It's kind of fun. It's I feel the same way about records. I love buying used records because they're thicker, they're older. It's history on the. You open them up, they're not repressed. They're usually most of them are like thicker and stronger because it's a life to it. I think that's kind of the way to do things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you like it, buy it and play it, and don't get on the brand name. I like the brand names because I like the guitars. I don't like them because of the brand.
Well, when they can deliver the sound.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
They're not all the same. You put 10 on the shelf. They're not 10 of them are not all sound the same, no matter who it is.
Nope. You got to play them and feel them out. And I have grown accustomed to liking the older ones, not because they are quote older, but because there's oil in the fret. Things are worn a little bit better. It's not stiff. It's not so stiff, and that's something that old guitars bring is, hey, I've been played. Go ahead, kick the hell out of me.
Right.
Yeah. New ones take a minute. You got to get that first scratch or something. I don't know, just to go, all right, it's a guitar. I'm going to beat the hell out of it, get the sound I want out of it, and move on with life.
Yeah, I can tell you when I got my other guitar, my new one, it was like I scratched it. I was like, oh. When I first got it, I just got chipped it to the very tiny part of it at the head. I'm like, oh, I know it's there. No one else sees it. But I
No one
know
else
it's there.
sees it.
But then I
It's
feel a
gonna
little better
happen
about it.
again.
No, but about this, I got this one, it's banged up, beat up. I love it.
Sure.
So really the last note I want to say, I appreciate you taking time tonight.
My pleasure.
What are you doing right now for your future? Like, what are you streaming? Any albums? You doing some recording? I know we kind of touched on it. What can people do to see you? And then we'll put all the links of all your stuff underneath here so people can pursue all your stuff.
Well, surprisingly, this year I've been pretty active. I played about 10 shows, which is more than some.
This year, that's like 9 more than most bands have played.
I feel blessed. It was just a series of circumstances where things opened up and we were able to do it.
Mhm.
And so I have that that makes me feel like I didn't take a whole entire year off. There's a lot of people who just haven't played nothing.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm expecting really good albums from all those guys too.
oh, sure. Yeah.
Everyone's got
no
a year
reason.
to do it. I'm telling you, that's the big thing. Everyone's like, I would have done better, but I was rushed. I had to go back on tour. I got to, that's where my money's made. You've been at home for a year.
Yeah, you gotta. Okay, yeah, exactly. So Devil City Angels came out with a new song called Testify.
Is there an album coming with that too, or is that just a single?
It's just a single. It's kind of all we can muster, given the circumstances right now. And of course, Golden Robot and I have a new single coming out called Lost Boys.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Nashville for quite some time, getting that song done. There's a photo shoot coming up, and releasing that is going to be my absolute honor, because it's all about 2020. It's all about not just the musicians losing the stages, but the fans losing the euphoric feeling of going to a concert. And there's a lot of my friends and fans that just, I mean, they a section of their paycheck goes to the concert fund.
Yeah.
They live for it. And so it's about me, but it's about you. And I think everyone will relate to it. And I'm writing. I mean, constantly writing. I do have the Australian tour in the spring, and it's just, honest to God, tackling goals like fitness, things that have been on the back burner in some way. Fitness, helping my neighbors if I have, if they need some help, creating better friendships, stronger friendships, getting in touch with people that I haven't been able to get in touch with for years due to a schedule, and just kind of being present with my daughter and making sure that, she's happy and can tell me everything that's going on. I want to be on that level where we can have that connection.
And you will until they're 11 years old, and then you're a rock star until you're 11. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. And then when the teens, they won't even talk to you, and it breaks your heart. Trust me.
Well, I've heard.
I'm going to tell you, right when she gets around 10 years old, start not talking to her and start pushing her way out of your life, because it's going to prevent you from heartbreak. They kill you. It go crush your soul. It still happens to me now. I'm like, oh.
It's so funny you say that. I was just telling someone else the other day. Right now, I have a real strong, straight communication with her, and she thinks I'm cool.
Doing their dance now.
She thinks I'm cool, but I know the day is coming. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because I didn't necessarily always see eye to eye with my mom and dad, and of course, I wanted to be independent and away from them from time to time. And then you get older, and you start going, people are moving on and moving. The only real people you have is your family. So my Friday nights, if I'm not on the road, which I haven't been much at all this year, are trying to get a hold of them. Hey, you guys want to go grab a pizza?
But those are the best.
I still get nervous, and there was a long time I was bulletproof. I didn't get nervous at all. Once I got in the Devil City Angels, I just knew, your performances are instantly on YouTube. And so you keep that in the back of your head. Like, I got to be my brightest self. I got to make sure I hit everything. And I think that's good in a way, though. I think if you phone it in, or get drunk before the show and just kind of, I got these guys.
Well, once you have it, though, you got to leave it there. You be like, you know what? I did my best. because there'll be 18,000 people that love this show, and you're gonna get 12 keyboard warriors, and you're gonna feel horrible about it. Are gonna be, you're like, look, I'm gonna come over your house, over your mom's house, come downstairs, knock all your pizza boxes over,
Unplug your freaking internet,
unplug your internet, and knock over all your pizza, and then
but
teach you a
that's
lesson.
that's the thing. Like anytime I tell my dad about, all right, someone insulted me on the internet or anything like that, I mean, he's like, this is only going to make you stronger. It's not going to. And now I can honestly say, I heard this quote the other day. What that person thinks of me is none of my business. So if you can keep that in your head, even though it hurts, but what they think of me and they're that's not my business, and kind of move forward, you're winning in a way. You're not winning, but you're carving a more of a bulletproof version of yourself if you can just know I did my best, and that's all you can do.
I like to think, if someone's criticizing it, I think, if I see something a certain way, I'll be like, it kind of sucks, whatever. Clearly, they're not playing their best, but I would never go on and lambast them on stage or whatever. I'm like, they're having a bad night. I've done a lot of bad things at work. I would hate for that to be on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like, not like bad things, like made a mistake. I would hate my one mistake out of like doing 25 really good things.
And that's
everybody gets 25,000 views, and you're like, come on, you know how many other things that friends? So I'm like, they had a bad night. But if I want to criticize, I'm like, who am I to do that? And then then I think about, like, if someone's criticizing you, like, who are they? What kind of person are you? What's going on in your head that you feel like it's another human has an off night? So that kind of person, like, maybe I don't really. Then your judgment isn't the same. You're not a kind person. You're not somebody that really gets life. You're just a jerk, and it really doesn't matter what I do or who it is. You're just gonna be a jerk.
You're just gonna be a jerk, and my song "Leave," the second song I did with Golden Robot, the chorus is leave that boy alone, leave that girl alone, leave us all alone. And it's an anti-bullying
you have a program, right? Actually, you support something with anti-bullying.
Yeah, it's
good. I forgot to ask that. I wanted to ask that about you. It's important.
I'm an ambassador for this organization, that they're pretty much based on Twitter, called Free to Love. And anyway, so sometimes I'll go to schools and speak to people about their goals and how to be more or less your brother's keeper and more encouraging. And this hat I have, OTC crew. It's that stands for the other table crew, and that just means getting out of your comfort zone and going and making a friend. And I've always done that. I've always enjoyed meeting new people. I don't like staying with the norm. I don't like just running with one crowd. I like, if I can help somebody with any knowledge I have, which is not very much, I want to. And so, yeah, I mean, speaking at schools and I spoke at bike rallies, which bikers are super supportive of kids in general. And wonderful causes like anti-suicide. And so, yeah, it's that song really touches up on, hey, if you don't have anything nice to say, beat it.
And I think that's fantastic. Thank you for doing that. If they're like, all right, I like their viewpoint and lead by example, if you really want somebody to go that way, lead by example is a good way. And just being there, obviously, especially being young, you don't want anybody telling what to do. It's the first reason to go away and not do it. You know what I mean? I'm surprised. Well, music in your house, you didn't become like a librarian or something, right? That was a joke of my family. My wife's an artist, and I'm into music, and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna become like librarians and accountants. It's gonna break my soul. They're gonna rip out pocket protectors. Come on, guys.
If you can embrace who you are, and know, like I said earlier in this interview, that we're just a blip on this planet. Make it count. Make it count. I think you can walk down the hallway of whether it be the school or to your desk at work and just be a little bit more comfortable going, all these things that I think are such a big deal are really not. I need to be the best person I can be. And you kind of harvest what you think. So if you're in if you're constantly negative and woe is me, you might get more of them circumstances. You know, I like to more or less say, look, I came from Iowa. I started out in the southeast corner of Iowa. Nobody has ever really come out of Iowa and been quote unquote a rock star or whatever. So take it from me, you can do it if you put your mind to it. It's not BS. It's true. And if you want it bad enough and you go to the ends of the earth to get it, and the dark alleys, and you survive, you're going to find yourself waking up every day doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
Excellent. That's actually advice. That's going to end the show now because it's the perfect advice. So I'm going to say thank you. And thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate it.
God bless you, brother. Thanks for reaching out. And anytime, I tell you what, when the new song comes out, Lost Boys will get it to you.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
Take care.